welcome to Vintner's Vision, a show that's dedicated to bringing you the best food and wine pairings that the Central Coast of California has to offer. We're coming to you live tonight from the heart of the Central Coast in Paso Robles, California. I'm Julie Holme, and I'm your host, and I have for you today an excellent panel of guests. Representing our local vineyard is Windward Vineyard, and our local restaurant is Artisan. Over the next few minutes, we'll be speaking with the hardworking people behind these successful local businesses. We'll learn about the types of products that they produce, and we'll find out what makes them so successful. So, I'd like to introduce from Windward Vineyard, Maggie Ambrosia, all the way on my right. Welcome.
Very nice to be here.
And Marc Goldberg, the owner and winemaker. Welcome, thank you. And from Artisan Restaurant, we have Shandi Kobayashi. Welcome. And Chris Kobayashi. That's right, same last name. Husband and wife team, always a good pairing. Shandi's our wine director and special event, and Chris is the owner and chef. Welcome. So I kind of want to get into your personal lives a little bit and ask you what made you interested in having a winery, and especially Pinot Noir. You do exclusively Pinot Noir, and I'm very curious of why.
Exclusively. Well, Mark and I probably have different stories about that, so maybe you should start first, because he's sort of the real driving force behind it, and then I can add my little sidelines to it.
Well, we were both hospital administrators professionally for the most part of our lives, 32 years I was. My hobby was the wines of Burgundy, because when I was 17 years old in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, they had blue laws, so you couldn't really, after 12 o'clock, you could not drink anymore. So they had all these private clubs. And one of the private clubs was called the Hollywood Social Club. And so when I was 17, I had a membership card, which I still have at home. And you go up the stairs, it was like a speakeasy, they'd slide the door. And you'd go in, and I became friends with the chef, and I helped him in the kitchen and then we'd go out and we would eat, and he would teach me about wine. And one of the wines he taught me about was a Burgundy called Vintner. This was in 1952, 53. I'm 78 years old. So if I tell the whole story, it's going to take the whole program. I tasted the wine and I was hooked immediately. That wine, by the way, Vintner 51, 52, was $6 in the state store downstairs. And now it's like $280 a bottle if you can find it.
So you were actually doing winemaking at the time when you were visiting there, or you were in a different trade?
Well, I was 17 years old. I was still in high school.
Still in high school, okay.
Yeah. And then I went on. So that was my hobby, the wines of Burgundy. And as we traveled across the country to different jobs, hospital administrators have to go where the jobs are.
Oh, right.
We got closer to California, and as we got closer to California, we also got older. We were both in hospital administration. And we talked about retirement because we met a lot of doctors, hospital administrators, and some of them went into the wine business. And so we thought, Pinot Noir in America is moving more toward a big style Rhone, fruit-forward wine. Why don't we retire by making a Pinot Noir that's more traditional, that's more Burgundian, that's more in the style of France? And so we start looking for a vineyard. And then she could tell you the rest of the story, but it'll take the rest of the program, probably.
No, when Mark and I met, he said, "Do you like wine?" I said, "Of course, my Italian heritage, my grandfathers all made wine." And so early on in our dating, courtship, he brought a bottle of 1959 Romane Conti to dinner. And he asked me if I liked it. We were having it with some, grilled steaks.
That's all I got out of the divorce was that bottle. She got the house.
So he asked me how I liked that wine, and I tasted it, and I said, "Oh, it's nice." I didn't have a clue, as I was used to homemade wines. And so he said, "Well, honey, let me just tell you how nice that is, because that wine is, Romani Conti, it's a Grand Cru Burgundy. It's fabulous. And some friends of ours opened a bottle of 88 for us last year, and it was just as fabulous. But so we wove Burgundy wines into our relationship throughout our career. So whenever we thought about seriously pursuing our fantasy of having a vineyard, then it was only about Pinot Noir and where we could plant Pinot Noir. So that is sort of the tail end of the story, and there's a lot in between, but that's the beginning and the end of it, and here we are.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned also, Marc, that you make a Burgundian style of Pinot Noir. Some of our viewers might not know exactly what that means. So you could just explain that a bit more?
Well, Pinot Noir is the oldest varietal in France, and in Burgundy, that's probably got 1,500 years of history. And so over those years, the kings, the Duke of Burgundy, they would be in the vineyard saying, no, I like these wines, I don't like this so much. And so they say, pull this Gamay out, send it to south to Beaujolais. And so over the years, you couldn't make a red wine in Burgundy unless it was Pinot Noir. Mm-hmm. And then after the kings and people like Napoleon Bonaparte would drink Chambou-Moussigny with his bouillabaisse, so they controlled what would happen in the vineyard there. And it eventually got codified into their laws, so if you plant anything else in Burgundy except Pinot Noir for red wine, it's really a felony. They won't let you do that. Right. And if you mix anything with the Pinot Noir in Burgundy, it's a felony.
It's not a blending.
You'll go to jail. It's not a blended wine, so it's single varietal. It stands on its own. And so in a Burgundian style, like in America, if you just say Pinot Noir, you can have 25% if you want Petit Syrah or something.
Absolutely.
Makes it darker.
Legal limit.
Right, because, some people don't like the color of a natural Pinot Noir because it's, in quotes, they say, oh, it's too light. It's Maggie calls it, a lead fist in a velvet glove. It may look like, but, it's not. It's very powerful. It's very concentrated. It's very complex.
Fantastic. Good. Well, we can't wait to try them. But first, we're going to go over to our restaurant partner tonight, Artisan. And Shandi, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came into the restaurant business?
Well, I came into the restaurant business because of him, so we can give Chris all the credit for that. I actually met Chris living at a research station in Bishop, California, which is a very small little town on the way to Mammoth, and he was the cook and the maintenance guy there, and a lot has changed in the last 12 years. He went to school and has just done amazing things. And when we moved to Napa for him to go to school, I have an ecology degree. I love dirt, I love bugs, I love plants, all that kind of good stuff. And I got sucked into the winery business. And there was enough dirt and bugs and plants, and wine came along with it. And it was just a really interesting thing for me. And got into it, and so when we knew we were moving to Paso Robles and wanted to open a restaurant, and here we are now. And Chris has a much more restaurant background, so that's a good question for you.
So Chris, I think that's over to you. Tell us a little bit about your education and what qualifies you as a chef.
Qualifications. Huh? Well, I went to school in California Culinary Academy in San Francisco, and then went to St. Helena for pastry school. Just really passionate about cooking and food. We've been doing cooking since I was young, and growing up in Bishop, small towns just like Paso, so it wasn't really a man's man kind of job back then, so I didn't go to culinary school right away. Just went into construction. That's where I got kind of a maintenance background, but finally just went and did it. Went to culinary school. Really enjoyed it.
Great, yeah, and I do think you're being a little bit humble because I did see on your website you graduated top in your class, so congratulations with that.
Oh, it's a small class.
Still number one, that's good. Excellent. Excellent. So Artisan, it's considered American bistro,
Yep.
correct? Yep. Everything's local and fresh.
Absolutely. I mean, we deal with a lot of local purveyors, a lot of local vendors, a lot of local farmers. We're just trying to hammer in that we're trying to be sustainable and try to cover all our bases and just seek out the best product that we can.
Right. Fabulous.
We
yeah.
race them to farmers market.
Yeah,
they're
he's
at
always trying
farmers
to get all the
every
good
He
Saturday.
gets
stuff.
there early and he gets all the good stuff there. Maggie has to run and stay right behind him and take what's left.
Well, it sounds very hardworking. That's great. Well, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.